Okay, listen up. Before we get into the video, somewhere hidden there is a code, and the first person to comment that code on my Instagram page at JoshConnects, I will be personally sending you this wireless charger. So make sure you watch all the way through to try and find the hidden code in this video. Again, it's going to be popping up, so make sure you watch all the way through as you're listening and try and find the code. All you have to do is comment it on my Instagram page, and I will be sending it to the first person that says this code. While you're at it, before we get started on this, make sure you hit the subscribe button, like the video, and also hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we start posting on this channel more. I have a lot more content coming up, and we're just getting started. Thank you so much, and enjoy the video. Hello and welcome back to another Josh Connects video. Today we're going to be doing a screen repair on an iPhone 7. Here are some of the tools we will be using to repair this device. If you want to make it easier on yourself, which I recommend you do, you can just go to the link in the description and pick up an ifixit Pro Tech Toolkit. This toolkit has everything you could ever want. It comes with every bit you'll ever need for phones, along with some extras. Here are some of the extras it includes. Also, you get a suction cup, some pry tools. All this is really useful. Makes your life so much easier as a repair person, or you're just doing it for the first time. This toolkit is fantastic, even if you don't work just on phones. This could be useful all over the house. Let's say your PS4 is a little bit dirty. You can open it up with the bits included in this kit. This toolkit is a necessity for anybody in phone repair, or if you're not in phone repair. But the bits today that we're going to be using is a pentalobe screwdriver, a Phillips head screwdriver, and a Y000 bit, which is included in the kit. Also, it's really handy to have a high quality spudger like this, and this is just used as a pry tool, and I really enjoy the durability of this one. Don't worry, as we go along, I'll be stating what I'm using during the repair. So let's get to it. So to start off, we're going to be using the pentalobe bit just to take out the bottom two screws on the iPhone. Now these are kind of hard to get out. You can see that there's not really much to grab onto. So I flip it over, give it a little pat, little shake. These screws are interchangeable, meaning it doesn't matter if the left one goes in the right one or the right one goes in the left one. Once those are out, I'm going to be using a project mat just to keep things a little bit neater. So you can see right on here, the two pentalobe screws go on the bottom. These project mats will also be linked in the description down below. Now this phone might look a little bit familiar to you because I did do a video about this on my TikTok page where my friend actually repaired the phone and I taught him how. But all the comments were saying, Josh, you should tell us how and post it on your YouTube channel. So that's what I'm doing now. I replaced everything back to original. As you can see, the screen is still cracked. Now I'm going to be going through the full process I go through while repairing an iPhone 7 screen. It's already been opened up, so there is no adhesive along the edges. Typically, I get a blow dryer and just warm it up a little bit, makes your life a little bit easier. From here, I grab the ifixit tool, put it underneath right about here, like so, and then you just basically stab in, get underneath the screen. Be careful not to damage the housing too much. Now you can see once you're underneath, you're just going to gently pry up. There might be some glass cracks, but that's perfectly fine. You really want to be careful not putting in too much of the tool because there is the home button and some brackets along here. Just like that, you could hear that noise. Now we're on to the other side. I go in like this, turn, like this, turn, all the way around the device. You can see how easy this is coming up because there is no adhesive along the sides of it. And then at the top, we be really careful because there are some ribbon cables. Most important thing is that on the right side, there are all your ribbon cables right here. So you do not want to put this tool in too far or you'll risk hitting them. So I just like to put a very little bit like so. You can see right there. And then we just slide it up the edge like this. Now we can open this up just like a book. Wiggle it down from the screen because there's two clips right here. Might hear a little click. Like that, open it up, and now the device is open. I like to have something behind here to make sure the screen doesn't fall back and wobble, so I'm just going to use a random thing on my desk, which happens to be an AirPod case. And now the screen stays up without me touching it. Now this is the inside of the device. What we're going to be focusing on is taking off these brackets right here to get the whole screen off. Also, with this handy dandy part chart, you can see everything that we're going to be working on. So right here we have the brackets, up here we have that other bracket, the pentalobe screws are down there, and then the home button screws and the top ear speaker screws. Also, using this diagram, we can tell that this right here, these yellow ones, are the tri-wing screws, which are the Y000 bit or the triangle, whatever you want to call them. Up here there's a little X, that would mean it's the Phillips head. Like I said, it's really convenient. Getting back to the device, the most important thing is disconnecting the battery first before anything else. So we're going to be using the Y000 bit with the ifixit Tech Toolkit driver. We're going to bring it right down here and just start taking out the screws. Being as careful as we can not to strip them, and applying very little pressure. As you can see, it's magnetic and goes right to the tip of the driver. I put that on my part chart over here, and making sure to keep all my screws in the exact same orientation. This one can't go there, that one can't go there, etc. On to the next one. Making sure to stay organized. And the very last one right here. And done. I'm going to give you a close-up so you guys can actually see where the screws are. So right in here, this was the orientation we went in, and I kept them in order on my part chart. Now the battery still is connected, so you don't want to use anything metal, so I'm just going to use this plastic spudger and get underneath to take off this bracket like so. Now that the bracket is off, I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see the power. Right there, this little piece, this is the power cable that goes to the battery, which is right here. So we're going to get underneath that, flick it up, and disconnect the battery like so. Now that the battery is disconnected, we can take off the screen, which I'm going to do right here with the spudger up, off, just like little Legos. Now that that's done, we can look at our part chart again. Looks like we're going to be taking off this little bracket on the top, which is going to be 2 Phillips head screws. I'm going to be using this one. And out goes the first screw. Again, making sure I'm organized. Then we're going to go up here and grab this second one, hit it in the back. Now that that's off and the battery's disconnected, we can actually use some metal now, which I don't typically use, but I'll do it for the purpose of this video so you guys don't see my shaky hands. We're just going to grab the little bracket, if I can. We're going to grab the little bracket, and that's good to go. Now I don't use metal on any of the connectors when I'm taking them off, so I'm going to go back to the plastic piece and just get underneath this cable really easily here, just to pry it up and pop it off the frame. Now I'm just going to pry up this flex cable, and there we go. Now the screen is completely detached from the housing. Now that we have the screen off, we can move everything over to the side and clean up our workspace a little bit better. We're not going to be doing anything with the housing, considering this is just a screen replacement, and this housing is in pretty rough shape here on the bottom, but I'm pretty sure that's not an issue. The reason why it's not an issue, I'm just replacing the screen, and this is going to be sold as a used device. And a used device doesn't have to be perfect, so that's going to be stated as a defect. Now we can just throw the housing over to the side and keep that for later. Now we're going to be working on the main screen. Now we have the screen off of the housing, and this is what we're going to be working on. Repairs on these models are really simple. Basically all you have to do is transfer the home button over, along with the ear speaker, front camera, proximity sensor, etc. It's all in one unit with this flex cable right here. I'm going to be using a screen from Injured Gadgets today. They really have the most premium screens on the market, and I've used quite a few. As you can see, there's some fingerprints on this one because my friend just put it on earlier. If you want, there's a link in the description where you can see all of Injured Gadgets parts and get some for yourself. I really recommend them because they're really high quality and their customer service is amazing. I think they're really superior over any other brand, and I've used quite a few. Even if you're just following this video at home, you can still buy your screen from them and save a lot of money and do it yourself. Or if you're a repair store, I really recommend having a really high quality supplier like Injured Gadgets. Reason being, they rarely have defects and their customer service is superior over everybody else. I've personally used Injured Gadgets for around 2 years now, and I've done countless screens. I've rarely had an issue with their products, and like I said, if you're buying one screen, that's perfectly fine. You can buy it from Injured Gadgets and do it yourself, follow along with this video. Or if you're a repair store, you can use them as a supplier. They have some fantastic prices. Anyways, back to the video. Now it's going to be pretty simple. All we're going to be doing is swapping over the home button along with the top over to the new screen. Pretty simple, right? I like to put the new screen over to the side and get everything off the old screen first before I start installing it on the new one. If you go back in the video and look at the part chart, you can see that the bottom here, they're all going to be those tri-wing bits on the bottom, so I'm going to be using the Y000 bit. I'm going to be going along the edge right here, getting this single screw on the right hand side, making sure I'm staying organized again, onto the next one. Being very careful on this middle screw on the home button. You basically want to apply 0 to no pressure onto the bit. Now the very last one comes off. And we can take the bracket off. I'll use this. There we go. Now the bracket's off, the home button is exposed, and this is where it gets scary. We want to be as gentle as we possibly can. This thing is incredibly fragile. As Jerry Riggs says, it's like paper. All these flex cables are insanely fragile. What we're going to be using is this spudger, and we're going to be getting underneath this little lip and prying it up. But first, we have to disconnect it from the screen, which is right here. I'm going to be doing that with 2 of these plastic little spudgers, placing one underneath right here, and then trying to pop this up and disconnect it from the screen. So I'm going to pull it apart just like that, a little sandwich. Now you can see that it's disconnected. Now this little piece right here folds up, and this little piece can fold down like so. Now comes the scary part. We grab our pry tool, and then we're going to go in right here, right underneath there. And we have to be really, really careful that we're not hitting anything. You don't want to hit this, you don't want to hit that, you don't want to stab anything. So I'm going to be extremely careful here. I'm not going to be looking through the camera in front of my face. I'm going to place it down with some force, get underneath, and pry up very gently. You don't want to be putting stress onto this ribbon cable. Just like that. Now it can fall out the front, and it's out. I like to carefully place this to the side near my other screws, and now all we have left is the top ear speaker. We can see on our part chart that these are all going to be the Phillips head bit, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws holding this down. We're going to go ahead and start taking these out. And now you can see that this bracket comes off, revealing the ear speaker and the front-facing camera. And there we go. Now that the bracket's off, we can fold this camera back, like so, and then grab this piece right here. All of this is connected, so it's going to be falling apart. That's perfectly fine. Just like that little plastic piece right there. Gonna set the ear speaker aside. Gonna get rid of this little plastic piece. Injured Gadgets already has these installed onto the screen assemblies, so we won't be needing that. Now I'm going to grab this pry tool and get underneath right under here. See these 4 little dots that are gold? I like to get right underneath and start peeling from there. So I'm going to try and show you guys what that's going to look like. So just like that, I got underneath. Now I'm going to be prying up gently along here, and this is going to pop off like so. Now we have to work up at the top and see. Now we're at the top with the ear speaker and proximity sensor. I'm going to unclip those as best as I can. Oh, and look at that. Because there wasn't a lot of adhesive, this fell out pretty easily. Now that all the parts are off this screen, this one's good to go. You can really just throw it to the side. We're going to be focusing on the new screen that we're going to be installing. Now it's really just this video in reverse. You put the ear speaker on, put the screws in, that simple. Same with the home button, but I'm going to show you guys how to do it anyways. When I started watching these videos, a lot of people just cut it off right there, so I'm going to include the stuff that I cared about when I started learning. The actual full process of the repair. Not just saying it's going to be in reverse and do it yourself. I'm going to show you. So here we can see all these extra pieces on our part chart, and I like to keep it pretty organized. You can see the home button right there, bracket, home button screws, etc. So we start now in reverse. I started with the home button, taking it apart. Now we do the top first and then the home button. Now I'm going to grab the ear speaker module, and we're going to be placing it here on the top. You literally just drop it down, line up where you took these dots off, and then you really just drop it down and it should do the work itself. Once we place those 4 little dots down right there with a little bit of pressure, now we can move to the top and seat the proximity sensor. So everything just falls into this little cranny right here, and I really just set it down and let it do the work. You don't want to apply too much force and risk breaking anything. So I just press it down with my thumb and I could already hear a click. Just like that, it's already in. Now we just have to put the ear speaker. Now we want to make sure these 4 little bits are lined up with those. Making sure this is pressed down all the way. We're going to lift up this camera, go underneath, and just drop down the speaker, let it sit. Now from here, I was talking about I just let it sit and do the work. I literally just press the camera in, being careful not to smudge or break it. Once that's seated in there, you can just wiggle this around and it's going to seat itself. Now as you can see, there's no bracket on, but it's holding pretty well. Everything like the front proximity sensor just fell into place really well. And you can see that it's not at to one angle. Sometimes when people do it, it's all the way bent or something like that. This one's really flush. So now all we have to do is grab the bracket, place it over top, and then get the Phillips head bit and start putting the screws back in. Like I said, there is magnetism, so this is a pretty tricky part. Just takes some time, but it's not really hard. A trick I learned is to not tighten these too tight until the very end. Obviously, you don't want to be tightening electronic screws too hard, but I leave them pretty loose just until they get into the threads, and then I tighten them at the end to make sure there's even distribution of pressure. The last thing you want to do is force a screw into an electronic device and risk breaking or snapping something, so I like to go very, very carefully. Now that that screws in, we can actually start tightening these. Now you can see that this ear speaker and the front-facing camera is all the way on the device. Now it's onto the home button, and the home button goes in through the front. So I'm going to be going like this, pull this back just a little bit, that little tab I was talking about earlier. We slide it through gently, and then we try and get it positioned like so. Now you can see that everything's lined up, that hole, along with these two, so we're good to go. Now we place it down. Now we have to connect it right there, and it's basically the reverse process. Now we're just going to be making a sandwich. So we pull this down and clip it over, and you can hear it, and we're good to go. Now it's on to installing the bracket, and this is the Y000 bit once again, or the tri-wing bit, whatever you want to call it. And then we start grabbing our screws. And then I like to skip this screw and go to that one, just so I'm not applying a bunch of pressure to the home button. So I'm going to go with the far left screw. Just a little bit of pressure. I'm going to turn it a little bit like that. And now the full screen's done. Now all we have to do is install it back onto the housing. We have a full screen replacement completed. Now we grab the housing and we're almost done. Now we place down the ear speaker cable, making sure we don't bend the screen back too far. Then we press this one in like a little Lego. It snaps into place along with this next one. Now we place this next cable in. It snaps down pretty easily. Now the battery connection cable. Press that down. Make sure all your connections are secure and drop the screen. Now we're going to be testing it. Gonna hold down the power button and pray there's an Apple logo. Holding down the button, and there we go. We can see that the screen turns on. Now we're going to look for any defects or anything like that. And there we go. It says iPhone is disabled because the screen was so broken last time. What happened was it thought people were pressing on the passcode so many times. But here, just to prove to you, I'll press emergency, and we do have touch. This isn't going to call anything, but you can see the touchscreen is working. Delete, I'm not going to type anything up there because I don't want to call anybody. Now we can power off the device once again. It's always good to test so you don't do this whole process and see that the screen was bad or you messed up. All the screens do come with this dust-proof seal that goes around the edges. This phone, I'm probably not going to resell it. If I do, I'm going to put this on. It's probably going to be in my collection for videos, so I'm not going to be placing this on. But these are incredibly simple to install. You literally run it around the edges, drop the screen on, and you're good to go. The battery is connected now, so you do need to be careful with where your screwdriver is going. Now I place the bracket back on here. Now we grab the tri-wing bit and start putting the screws back in the exact same orientation that is on the part chart. Notice how I'm barely applying pressure. I don't want these screws to strip because they're incredibly hard to get out. Now we grab the top ear speaker bracket and place it on up there, and it's going to be the 2 Phillips head screws. Place this in like so, and then tighten it gently. Goes right there. Tighten it down, and we're done. This is where you would be putting the waterproof seal all around the edges, but we're not going to be doing that today. Now when you close it, you want to be really careful of these ribbon cables. I like to drop it a little bit and then get it in my hands, and we're going to seat this very top piece first. As you can see on the screen, there's 2 little hooks right here, and that goes underneath the top. So I like to drop it down like so, seat those first on the top like that, and then before pressing it down, we flip it over and make sure these cables aren't coming out. Look at that, they almost did. So now we can get the crunch, making sure those cables don't get caught in anything. There we go. Bring it close. And press the whole screen down. Now all we have left are the 2 pentalobe screws on the bottom. In my experience, they're not really magnetic, so I like to grab them in my fingers and then just drop them in. Make sure you don't drop it into the charging port by accident. There's one, and I like to press down on the top right here, making sure that the pentalobe screws go in correctly. So I'm squeezing with my left hand, tighten that down. I'm squeezing with my left hand again over here underneath this one, and tighten it down. Now obviously I like to test it one more time, power it on, and we can see if we did a good job. Now I can clean up my work area a little bit as it powers on. Hopefully we get the iPhone disabled screen, because that's what it was on last time. There we go, iPhone is disabled, connect to iTunes. So this repair is done. The iPhone's functional, we're ready to roll. The thing is, it says iPhone is disabled. I'm gonna have a link to a video in the description where I show you guys step by step on how to get that off of the phone. Even if there's a passcode, you can still bypass the passcode with a DFU restore. If you don't want to watch that video, you can just look up DFU restore. If not, it's going to be in the description below, and I'll show you how I did it on this particular device. Now that the repair is done, one of the most satisfying parts is taking off the screen protector. Look at that. There is some dust on it, but you can barely see it. It's just because there's a massive light above my desk, and the phone's completely done. Feels really good, looks really good. Overall, besides the housing, I think this is a pretty good condition phone. Needs a little bit of a cleanup, but just like that, the screen's fully repaired. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it if you stayed till the end. If you have, make sure you check out all the links in the description. One is going to be the best link to get the Tech Toolkit by ifixit. It's on Amazon, and I'm probably going to have a discount code. Check the link in the description. If you want to pick one up, you can do so there. Also check the second video to see how to restore and DFU restore the iPhone 7 back to factory settings, even if there's a passcode on it. There will be affiliate links down below in the description where I purchase all of my Amazon products that I use for repair. My mat, the drivers, pry tool, etc. It's all going to be down there. I'm most active on my Instagram stories, so make sure you're following my Instagram and also follow my TikTok. If you want to see more entertaining videos and not so much of the behind the scenes, make sure you check out my TikTok page. It's just @JoshConnects. There'll be a link in the description also. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I want to hear you guys' honest thoughts on videos like these, and if you like the step-by-step, or do you like just the entertaining versions. I have a lot more planned for the future, and we're just getting started on this YouTube game, so make sure you hit that subscribe button to follow along for the journey. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. This was another Josh Connects video, and stay tuned for the next one.